I love stories of women who are doing whatever the fuck they want well past their prime because I am sick of the narrative. If you don't do it young, don't bother. So, did you know that only about 200 people have sailed around the world unassisted, non-stop, and alone? And of those 200 people, less than a quarter of them are women. This is the story of Jeanne Socrates, who is not only one of the few women to sail around the world unassisted, alone, non-stop, not setting a foot on land during her journey. She is also the oldest woman in the world to have done it at the age of 77. And she didn't even start sailing until she was in her 50s. Jeanne was born in Hampshire in 1942. She was a schoolteacher, a mother, and happily married to her husband George. In the 90s, when her kids were grown, she and George got into sailing. They fell in love with it during a trip from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean, and they were looking forward to a retirement of cruising into the sunset. But it wasn't to be. George was diagnosed with terminal cancer and died in 2003. People presumed that Jeanne would give up on sailing without George, but after a bit of soul searching, she decided that now she'd had a taste of cruising, staying at home just had lost its appeal, and she was going to try to keep it up alone. She said it was a huge adjustment learning how to deal with the electrics and manage the engine, but by October 2003, she was ready to sail their boat Narita offshore solo for the first time at the age of 61. In 2007, Jeanne embarked on her first trip around the world. She hoped that it would take less than a year, but she wanted to spend some time sightseeing and be really flexible with it. However, again, it wasn't to be. Just 60 miles, about 12 hours off the finish line, Jeanne was dragged underwater by a spring current when she was setting up her anchor in Playa, Michigan. Grounded and alone, her boat was being pounded to pieces. She called for help on the radio, but nobody came, and she realized the only thing she could do was take off her equipment to try to save it. Even though her boat was destroyed, Jeanne hadn't given up on her world tour. She used insurance to buy a new boat, which she also named Narita, and tried again in 2012, but this time she was foiled by bad weather. Then, finally, on her third attempt in 2013, she became the oldest woman in the world to circumnavigate the globe non-stop, unassisted, at the age of 77 years old. Today, she is 83 years old and still sailing solo, and she says that while she's often alone, she is never lonely and that dolphins are great company.